Hey everyone, Finn here from the Magic Minds, and today I'm going to be talking about my extended deck tech. So this is my first extended deck tech, and if you didn't watch our podcast, we mentioned there that we're changing things up around here, and we're going to have shorter podcast deck techs, and we're going to elaborate on our deck techs in the videos you're watching now, the extended deck techs, which is going to be a more in-depth thing, so you guys will still be able to hear about our cool decks. And the podcast episodes will also be shorter. So, yeah, our first extended deck tech. And if you watch our podcast, you know that we had -1/-1 encounters as our wheel spin. So we each had to build a -1/-1 encounters deck. So here is mine. So my commander is Vhati Il-Dal. So it's an interesting one. It's only got 12 decks to its name as far as the -1/-1 encounter theme. So, Vhati Il-Dal is 2, a black and a green for a legendary creature human warrior. It's a 3/3, and you can tap it until the end of turn. Target creature has base power 1 or base toughness 1. So, pretty simple. You can make something have a 1 power or 1 toughness. So, what we're looking to do with this deck, I'm going to kind of break it down in about 5 themes. So, we're looking to put -1/-1 counters on creatures, duh. And then we're also looking to take advantage of killing creatures, because with Vhati, if there's a -1/-1 counter on a creature, and we tap him to make that creature's toughness 1, then it'll kill it, because the -1/-1 counter will just kill it. We're also looking to untap our commander, because he needs to tap to activate his abilities, and untapping him with cards like Seaborn Muse will help us kill more creatures. And then we also want to utilize the stuff that we kill by recurring stuff from our opponent's graveyards. So, let's get right into it with our first theme, putting -1/-1 counters on creatures. The first card we have is Carnifex Demon. It's 4 black for a creature demon. It's got flying, it's a 6/6, and it's battlefield with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. And you can pay black and remove a -1/-1 counter from Carnifex Demon, put a -1/-1 counter on each other creature. So this is great because we can just kind of mark everything, and then that allows us to, with Vhati, we can just tap him and kill basically anything we want. So that's a great one to get mass -1 counters on each thing. Another good one is we're going to be killing a lot of creatures with -1/-1 counters on them. So Blowfly Infestation, which is 2 and a black for an enchantment. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, which means died. If it had a -1/-1 counter on it, put a -1/-1 counter on a target creature. So, obviously, whenever something's put into the graveyard by us, it's most likely going to have a -1/-1 counter on it. So this is going to allow us to, we're always going to be able to put new -1/-1 counters on creatures, even when we kill them. And then our next card we have is Black Sun Zenith. So this is kind of a classic one. It's X black for a sorcery. Put X -1/-1 counters on each creature. Shuffle Black Sun Zenith into its owner's library. So that's great. It's just a good board wipe in general. And also, we can also do it for X equals 1 or 2. And then we can also kind of like Carnifex Demon, we can kind of mark everything for Vhati to kill. Our final card in this theme is Midnight Banshee. It's 3 black for a creature spirit. It's a 5/5 with Wither. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a -1/-1 counter on each non-black creature. So that's also great. I mean, most of our creatures in this deck are black. So that's going to be kind of like almost a single-sided board wipe if we leave it out for a turn. And also, like I said, we want to be marking, by marking I mean putting a -1/-1 counter on it. Each creature our opponents control, and then Vhati just becomes like a kill spell every turn. And even more than that with untapped stuff. So those are some great stuff to put -1/-1 counters on our creatures. Our next theme is all about taking advantage of our opponent's creatures dying. Because obviously with Vhati, we're going to be shooting down a bunch of creatures, so we want to get value whenever they die. So our first card in this theme is Bloodchief Ascension. It's a black mana for an enchantment, and it says, at the beginning of each end step, if an opponent lost 2 or more life this turn, put a quest counter on Bloodchief Ascension. Then, whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, if Bloodchief Ascension has 3 or more quest counters on it, you may have that player lose 2 life. If you do, gain 2 life. So this is great because, first of all, it puts stuff in the graveyard from anywhere. or it cares about stuff going to the graveyard from anywhere. So that's going to trigger even when opponents are casting spells. So we're going to gain a bunch of life and they're going to lose a bunch of life that way. And with Vhati, we're going to be killing stuff, and that's also going to be putting stuff in the graveyard. So that's going to get us some life and drain some opponents. So that's great. And it's not too hard to activate either. The next one we have is a complete powerhouse in this deck. It's Necroskater. 1 black for a 1/4 with Wither. Like I said, deals damage to creatures in the form of -1/-1 counters. And whenever a creature an opponent controls with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, you may return that card to the battlefield under your control. This is just crazy because most of the stuff we're going to be killing is going to have -1/-1 counters on it. So we're going to be able to just kind of basically gain control of any creatures we want with Necroskater. So that is amazing in the deck, and that's a great payoff. The next one is a pretty recent one. It's Sir Conrad the Grim. It's 3 black for a legendary creature, Human Knight. It's a 5/4, and whenever another creature dies, or a creature card is put into the graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. And you can pay 1 in black, and each player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. So that's great, because obviously we're going to be killing stuff, so we're going to be dealing damage to each opponent. And Sir Conrad the Grim is just generally powerful, because normally stuff is going to be being put into the graveyard. So that's going to be good. And even if somebody like exiles somebody's graveyard, it's going to trigger. And it's also got that little mana sink at the bottom. You can spend some mana and do some damage, so that's also great. So just got a good all-around card there. Our second to last one is Deathreap Ritual. It's 2 a black and a green for an enchantment. It's got Morbid. At the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, you may draw a card. So this is great because we're going to be killing stuff with Vhati, so that's going to generate some card advantage, and it's also great if you can untap them with stuff like Seedborn Muse each turn, because then you can kill stuff and then draw a card at the beginning of each end step, so that is like even more value. So that's going to that's going to be a good card draw engine. And our last card for this section is Massacre Worm. It's 3 black, 6 mana total for a creature worm. It's a 6/5, and when Massacre Worm enters the battlefield, creatures your opponent's control get -2/-2. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, that player loses 2 life. So this is also great. First of all, we're going to be putting lots of -1/-1 counters on creatures with cards like Black Sun Zenith and Carnifex Demon, so they're already going to be a lot smaller. And then Massacre Worm can also give your opponent's creatures -2/-2 when it enters, so that's going to kill them a bunch. Kill a bunch of creatures. And then, whenever a creature opponent controls dies, that player loses 2 life, so that'll trigger off Massacre Worm's first ability and Vhati, so Vhati can just snipe some stuff and deal some damage too. So, that one's great, and it's just cards like those that can sort of slowly grind down opponents' life totals just by like killing their creatures. So we can kind of inflict a lot of damage with that. So that's it for taking advantage of deaths. So our next segment is we're looking to untap our commander, because obviously he's got a tap ability. So if we can untap him, we can really just kill multiple creatures in turn and get a lot more value. So our first card for this segment is Seedborn Muse. It's 3 green for a 2/4 creature spirit. It's pretty simple. It just says untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. So this is great. We can just untap our lands, untap everything. But that also includes Vhati, so we can, tap them on every turn and kill a bunch more stuff. And that's also great with Deathreap Ritual, because we can kill stuff every turn and draw cards every turn. So that's great. Another good one. This one is amazing in this deck. I'd say it's probably the best card. It's Thornbite Staff. So it's a tribal artifact shaman equipment. It's got equip 4, and it says equipped creature has pay 2 and tap it. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player, and whenever a creature is put into the graveyard from play, untap this creature. And whenever a shaman comes into play, you may attach Thornbite Staff to it. That doesn't really matter to us. But what really matters is the text. Whenever a creature is put into the graveyard from play, untap this creature. Because Vhati is going to be tapping to kill stuff, and when he kills stuff, that'll trigger him and untap him. So So you can just tap and untap, killing stuff all the while, and that's just, you can just mow down stuff. It's almost a single-sided board, right? Especially with like Carnifex Demon and stuff like that. So that is insane in the deck. That's super good. Another good one is Mage Right Stone. It's 2 mana for an artifact. You can pay 1 and tap it, untap target creature that has an activated ability with tap in its cost. So that's just good. We can get another activation out of Vhati. And another one that's basically the same. It's 1,000-Year Elixir. It's 3 mana. You can pay 1 and untap target creature, and it also says you may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. So you can tap Vhati as soon as he comes in, which is also great. We also have some other tap creatures that I'll talk about later that are good with 1,000-Year Elixir. Also, another one that's similar to Seedborn Muse is Quest for Renewal. It's an enchantment, and whenever a creature you control becomes tapped, you may put a quest counter on Quest for Renewal. And as long as there are 4 more quest counters on Quest for Renewal, untap all creatures you control during each other player's untap step. So that's great. It's kind of like a cheaper Seedborn Muse for only 2 mana, and we're going to be tapping stuff a lot, so it's going to easily get up to speed there. And then once it's online, it's like a Seedborn Muse. It's another one of those effects. So that's just great for our deck. Next up, the last card. This card I have encountered a lot more than I would have expected in my brewing, and it's actually become one of my favorite cards. It's Sword of the Parents. It's 4 mana for an equipment. It's got Equip 3, and as long as equipped creature is tapped, tap creatures you control get +2 bestow, which doesn't really matter. I mean, if we're making like tokens or anything, I don't think there's many tokens generators in this deck. But if you do have some creatures, that can be a good buff. As long as equipped creatures untapped, creatures you control get +1/+2. Also, sorta useless in our deck. And you can pay 3 mana and you may tap or untap equipped creature. Now, we don't have any infinite combos in this deck like most decks that run Sword of the Parents do, but it's still just great because we can just dump mana into it and get a bunch of activations if we need to. So that's just a great all-around card. And that's it for our Untap segment. So our next segment is, it's kind of like a half and half. So we got a couple cards that care about recurring stuff because we're obviously going to be killing a lot of stuff with Vhati. And we also got a couple other cards that I labeled ramp and other stuff. So I'm not quite sure. They're just random other cards that are just good with Vhati. So, first off, we got, for the recursion, we got Command the Dreadhorde, which is 4 black for a sorcery. It's from War of the Spark, and you can choose any number of target creature and or planeswalker cards in graveyards. Command the Dreadhorde deals damage to you equal to the total converted mana cost of those cards. Put them onto the battlefield under your control. So that's great, because we can grab for any graveyards. If there's planeswalkers too, we might as well grab them, that's cool. And we can kind of pick and choose what we want. It'll deal some damage to us, but I think if we get some big stuff, it's going to win us the game, so we won't really care about that much. So that's a great one that can grab from any graveyard. Another good one is Sepulchral Primordial. It's 5 black for a creature avatar. It's a 5/4 with Intimidate. When Sepulchral Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent, you may put up to 1 target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. That's also great, because, while it may not be able to get as much creatures out, as Command the Dreadhorde, it also comes with a 5/4 body, and, we can just get a creature for free from our opponent's graveyards, and we can get like 3 creatures of that for free, so that's also great. So I have some tips for ramp. So my kind of philosophy for ramping, ramp in commander decks is, so you want to think about your commander, and look at your commander's CMC. So in this case, Vhati is 4 CMC. Take away 2 from that, and that's the CMC you want for your ramp spells. At least your 1 mana, your ramp spells that ramp you 1 mana. So the reason for this is because, say you, on turn 2, you play a Rampant Growth, find a basic land. Then on turn 3, you can play your land for turn and have the extra land, so then you can you have 4 mana, you can play your 4 mana general on turn 3. So, that's why I have that little philosophy, because it really helps get your commander out early, and it just helps your deck run a lot smoother if you have the right CMC of ramp spells. So in that case, we have a bunch of 2 mana ramp spells in this deck. So we got Farseek, which is 1 green for a sorcery, search a library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card, and put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. Maybe if you're not running like shocks, or those cycling lands, or some of those lands with the basic land type, then I wouldn't put this in the deck. Maybe because you can only find a swamp with it. But if you are running those, this is just great because you can find your, overgrown tomb or whatever. And also Rampant Growth, I already mentioned it earlier, but it's 1 green, search a library for a basic land card, down to the battlefield tapped. It's kind of like the go-to ramp card in green, so that's great. Another one that kind of surprised me, it's a great ramp card. It's Plague Myr. It's 2 mana for artifact creature Myr, or Myr, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but it's got Infect, it's a 1/1, and it taps just to add 1 mana to your mana pool. So this is good because early game, we can always play down and hit somebody for 1 Infect. And once you have the Infect on there, we have some Proliferate cards, which I'll mention next. So once you get that 1 Infect on there, we can also deal a little bit of Infect damage too. Our next card we have, like I mentioned, it's a Proliferate one. It's Contagion Engine. It's 6 mana artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put a -1/-1 counter on each creature target player controls. So that's great because we can kind of target somebody and make sure we can kill their creatures with Vhati. And then you can pay 4 mana and tap it. Proliferate, then proliferate again. So that's great. You get the double proliferate. And that can just kill creatures on its own, or you can use Vhati and, take advantage of those -1/-1 counters to kill stuff. And also, like I said, you can proliferate the Infect stuff, because I'm not sure, Plague Myr might be the only Infect card in the deck, I'm not sure. But you can check out the deck, the deck list, in the description below. So, our final card, this card doesn't have anything to do with -1/-1 counters or killing stuff, it's just, in general, good with our commander. It's Tree of Perdition. It's 3 and a black for a creature plant. It's an 0/13 defender. And you can tap it to exchange target opponent's life total with Tree of Perdition's toughness. So this is kind of insane with Vhati, because Vhati doesn't have to target your opponent's creatures with his ability. He can target your own. So you can tap him to make your Tree of Perdition have 1 toughness, and you can tap Tree of Perdition to make somebody's life total 1. So, and then they're going to be easy to kill after that. So that seems like really powerful and just a great way to, hit somebody out of nowhere, and it's a good little surprise thing in this deck. So yeah, that's the deck. I think it's pretty cool. If you're looking for a unique -1/-1 counters deck, might not be the most powerful, but hopefully you can take my deck list, maybe tweak it a bit, see what's right for you, and hopefully you can, win some games with it. It seems pretty fun. It's definitely unique. Only 12 decks, for the -1/-1 counter theme on EHREC, for this guy. So, seems really cool. And yeah, that's it for my extended deck tech, for this week. Expect to have one of these, after every podcast episode, maybe a couple days after, cause, we're gonna have one for each deck we make on the podcast. So yeah, thanks for watching, and remember, keep magic on your mind.